Howdy. 2 days ago or something, a viewer sent me a link to this video. That's the very beginning of the most eye-opening 20 minutes of your life. And I think it's Michael Tellinger talking about pyramids, magnetrons, sources of energy, and ley lines and many other things. I think it's a very interesting video. Of course, there is a link below in the description box. I recommend you to watch it, make your own thoughts about it. I watched it, and the funny thing was that at the time I noticed the message and I started to watch the video and all these things. I realized that how funny it is, because I was just investigating ley lines and stuff like that, and there's a bunch of thoughts about ley lines and many other things in this video. And I think you recognize Morpheus, and he says that we are the source of the energy. Yes, I have to disagree with this, because in a sense, it's not true. We are capacitors. In other words, the energy goes through us and it will come out of us in a different form. We are prisms. There is light going through us. We are emitting light. Unfortunately, we are not able to see it because we cannot see infrared, for example. If human eyes could see infrared, we would see people in the dark. So we are emitting light. But we are not necessarily the source of energy. We are, in a way, maybe, we could say, the source for the energy for the machines in the Matrix movie. But as you understand also from the Matrix movie itself, the human has to be kept alive, not only in biological means, that it has to get nutrition and stuff like that. That's why there are those pipes attached, I think. But the brain, the head, the mind, the soul has to be fed too. So there is this movie playing. So now you understand that it's not only about feeding your body, you need to feed your head too. And since we are not the source of energy, we are only a capacitor. We are an electromagnetic disturbance in the general electromagnetic field. And I have been talking about battery things, energy things, and these kind of things many times. Just take a look at my volcanic plasma playlist, microwave pebbles playlist, Finnish copper playlist. Yeah, you will figure out it's about energy, it's about light, it's about electromagnetism, it's about conducting, it's about the transmutation of the elements into something else. Because we are much more than just our body. You know? For those who know about Rupert Sheldrake, for example, morphic resonance and stuff like that, the problem about killing rats, Like if they are figuring out some. The problem is if you give rats something in order to kill them, and it works in a way that they are eating it and they die immediately, the other rats will notice this. So they see that, dude, this one ate that and now he's dead, so we won't eat that. So they learn quickly. And the more interesting thing about this is the rat's knowledge from wherever that case happened. It seems to spread all over the globe. So rats on the other side of the world, if they recognize the same food or something, they don't touch it. They know. So the information gets spread all over the place. And maybe in a way that's the same principle as flocks of birds or swarms of fish are functioning, because they are just so close together that they have this very, how to put it, strong field around them. And since we all know that birds are very receptive to magnetic fields and stuff like that, so if they are close together and start to function as one, they are basically one. They just are one made of many small things. And it's easy to compare the same thing like people and planets or whatever you think about. Bacteria, all things, all elements. If you take whatever element you find and you do something to it, heat it up or put it in a vacuum chamber or zap it with electricity, it probably will change into something else. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to have consciousness in order to change its nature. So, but if you have consciousness, the whole thing gets probably much more complicated. It will take more time as well, probably, because it's much more complex. So let's still talk a little bit about batteries and these kind of things, because I just a few minutes ago, let's say half an hour or something, I got a notification about some news and I clicked on it and yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing, because how it fits in all that things. So let's go on to the next chapter of this video. If something like this is existing, I don't know, probably not, because I just started to make that. That's from my paper, my last paper I made it to, like, I finished. Part number 4 is under construction, but due to the intense amount of sociological pressure, I'm not really able to get my head together to that. But anyway, it's still a project. They say that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, but it is not half so bad as a lot of ignorance. Terry Pratchett. Yeah. So now that's the paper. I won't stress you with too much reading, so we go straight to the end of the paper. So this paper is mainly about peat, and we are at the conclusions section, which is rather short. Peat is instantly vitrified and pulverized biological mass that got churned up into even finer dust in very heavy winds. The winds carried the material to other places. The main driver behind this process, which occurred in a short time, is electromagnetism. Whether it was a CME from our sun or interactions with other planets, the basic principles of the formation stay the same. Together with its water, peatlands seem to be like a real, sun-charged, natural battery, And therefore the role in the environment could be much more important than previously thought. Wetlands are very active regions that could exhibit much stronger activities with stronger geomagnetic currents. With Earth's weakening magnetic field, we might also need to expect increased activity in wetlands. The author continues his investigations on this topic. The paper is dedicated to my parents. They have left their physicality and are now part of all circuits. So, memories are quite likely not stored in our brains. Our brain is just, in a way, a smaller capacitor in our bigger capacitor circuitry. In other words, the saying of having an open mind might have a much deeper meaning than many people can ever anticipate. I have now some amount of personal experience about meeting people, and then I start to maybe talk too much about my own things, the things I talk in my YouTube, I talk about in my YouTube videos. And it's a repetitive pattern. it's it's very sad, honestly. It's very sad. But it seems that there is so little capacity in people to take something in or something new because they seem to start to buffer very early. There's a little, I gave them a little piece of whatever you want to call it, truth or something, or a small example. And already you see it's flickering. There is like already the working memory is already full, and then you give one little piece more and it's gone. Their eyes turn glassy and they somehow change. They are overloaded and often I don't meet them again. Yeah, which is very sad. Because there would be so much more to tell them. But they can't. They are just filled up with whatever stuff, but no possibility, no capability, no capacity to take something new in. How? Why? What are they filled up with? That's my question. Like, really? Like, are they so full with whatever crap they heard, hear, see, saw all day, watching the news and stuff like that, freaking out about every news and, like, random stuff that happens somewhere and like gets boosted by the media to something very big, and everybody's whoa. No capacity for really sitting down, having own thoughts, think about the stuff. Does it make sense? Like, is there any sense behind that? Could there be any reason why they tell us this? But anyway, My parents, they are not amongst us anymore in their form they were known. But I am very sure that everything they knew, all their knowledge, all their wisdom, is now available to everyone. And they might have known much more than they ever told anyone, as most people are. Most people know much more than they tell anyone ever. Because they are just capacitors. There is so much energy, which is information, which is light, stored in them still, which never finds its way out in a way anyone could understand. It's not made in words. It's maybe shown in what they are doing. That's their message because that's what they do. That's the reason why they do something. They probably don't like to explain. They might be embarrassed. They might be thinking that it's weak. It would be a weak sign to tell why someone is doing something. And I'm not talking about bad things, of course. So, they are dead, and their wisdom is available to anyone. That's basically the same principle in a way as we had with the rats some minutes ago. If they make some rat experiment in Southern America with some poison and the rats figure out that that's the reason why the friend is dead, the rats in Asia or in America somewhere else, after a while they will figure out the same thing. They just know. Because rats might be, after all, even more open-minded than humans because they didn't have to go to a schooling system. They didn't get indoctrinated with certain paradigms in order to keep them going in the wished direction, if you know what I mean. Because schooling and real education, that's a whole different story. Schooling is you get taught to do something in order to make a certain job. That's it. If you are schooled in order to drive a bus, you are very good at driving a bus. And that's all you need to know. Yes, really? Yeah, I don't think so. There's so much more you need to know. But if you get taught enough and told enough that you don't need to know, you probably won't start to believe that you don't need to know because it's not your job. That's what the scientists are for, right? Yeah, for those who have watched a few of my videos and maybe even read one of my papers or something, you probably know what I mean. Huh. Yeah, about the scientists, or better said, the scientismists. Because it seems, or no, it doesn't seem, it's actually a fact that modern science isn't actually science, it's more scientism. Because they don't really want to know. They keep on holding strong on their mysteries, whatever mysteries they have. but they are very important for them. They defend their mysteries. Yeah, that's what the money comes from. That's where the money comes from because they are keeping alive the mysteries. The money comes from around the mysteries because they think if the mystery would dissolve, there would be nothing to explore anymore. Yeah, in fact, it's the other way around. After we get rid of the mystery, the real work can start and we finally get somewhere. And I think it was Manly P. Hall who said that wise people don't need uh, government, or the wise people cannot be ruled, and stupid people are not worth trying to be ruled. So now where are we? There are thousands and thousands of well educated people which are in popular society seen as the wise ones. Let's call them scientists, because they are the ones who went to school for a very long time. Yeah, they're all ruled by all kinds of authorities. So, and if you watch the news or something, if you know what's going on a little bit on the world, it doesn't seem to me that the activity that seems to ramp up on a few places on Earth right now as I speak doesn't seem to be wise at all. Despite the hundreds of thousands of very well educated people the world over. And I think that's a very sad contradiction. Everyone, most of the people in the, let's say in the Western world, whatever that means, they have a cell phone, they have access to internet. So if you have access to internet and somewhat a usable phone, you can search for whatever stuff you wanted to know. Because you can use translators if you don't speak another language. And I am very well aware that my English isn't the best. Yeah, it's not my mother's tongue. But I don't care too much about that. So, we drifted off a little bit, so let's go back to the facts. They have left their physicality and are part of all the circuits. So if you have an open mind, you have the possibility in order to tap in the greater consciousness of Earth, because somewhere up there in the sky, basically, it could be the ionosphere, it could be another layer of Earth's many layers. There is a huge storage of information. Basically, of most of the people that have been alive since the last time there has been big trouble with our Earth's magnetosphere and stuff. And then that was a point when some of the knowledge got lost. If the magnetosphere gets compressed too much and it discharges on the surface of the Earth, the element of knowledge, which is energy, will get transformed into another elemental form, an actual element maybe. Let's say it might be sulfur. This would be an example for auroral precipitation. What I think the origin of most of the sulfur, for example, here in Finland is it came from above, not from below. So if there has been stored energy from the people who have been living before the event, some of the information that has been stored got vitrified literally into stone. Does this sound a bit too far-fetched, crazy? Maybe it does. But let me show you the reason for why I made this video, because I think it's very interesting. And for this we go to Live Science. Like I said, I received this notification maybe an hour ago or something. And this was published already 10 hours ago. So we need to catch up. Electronics. New invention harvests ambient Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signals to power small devices. Wasted radio signals can be converted into electricity using a new kind of antenna rooted in how electrons behave at a quantum level. Yeah, I really don't like this whole quantum thing at all. I am not a quantum person. Anyway, small devices like light sensors or network components could soon harvest power from background Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signals using a sophisticated new component that can turn even the faintest electromagnetic waves into electricity. Researchers have created a highly sensitive rectenna or rectifying antenna, a component that exploits quirks of quantum physics to efficiently convert electromagnetic energy into direct current DC electricity. The researchers used this novel approach of capturing electrons to power a commercial thermometer. Remember when I said about if we could see infrared, we could see the light we are emitting and they are capturing electrons to power a commercial thermometer? Yeah, how funny. I haven't read this yet, so I'm reading this the first time. I just read the title and figured out that maybe there could be something interesting in this. In a study published July 24th in the journal Nature Electronics, the scientists suggested this technology could be scaled up to power Internet of Things devices and sensors using a small proportion of the excess radio frequency signals they use to communicate with one another. Yeah, that sounds creepy. The Internet of Things. Wow. What's up with all those commercials? That's a very annoying sight. Rectangles receive electromagnetic waves as found in radio frequency RF signals like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth or different wavelengths of light and capture them as alternating current AC electricity via the antenna. The device then converts this to DC electricity through its rectifier circuit. It's long been known that rectangles can be used to generate low levels of electricity. Researchers have demonstrated this by wirelessly powering model vehicles and similar experiments since the 1960s. So 64 years later, we are at the same step still. For example, in 1964, the weapons manufacturer Raytheon ran a television broadcast in which it demonstrated a remote-controlled helicopter powered by microwaves. Yeah, that's hilarious. Microwaves? But in these cases, power was beamed directly at the device in the form of microwave energy. Oh, dude. Yeah, glad that this channel isn't monetized, otherwise this never would get out anywhere. Ambient RF signals are far weaker and are not aimed directly at the devices. And this is still continuing. In the paper, the researchers said that the ambient RF signals may register well below minus 20 decibel milliwatts, a unit of measurement used to express signal strength. Yeah, I have never heard decibel milliwatts, but anyway. To put it in a perspective, the average smartphone transmits signals at 27 decibel milliwatts, while a microwave oven operates at 60 decibel milliwatts. Yeah, a little bit more than double of a smartphone. To harness the very weak ambient signals produced by Wi-Fi and Bluetooth networks, the researchers turned to a relatively obscure corner of quantum research, known as spintronics. Yeah, just do you know the right hand rule? Just take your right hand and put your thumb up and open a little bit your fingers and look at your hand from above when the thumb points at your face. Then you will see that the fingers point in the counterclockwise direction. That's the magnetic field spin direction, and your thumb is the direction of the current flowing. Maybe that's where the spintronics got their name from, but I have no idea. Known as spintronics, it studies the quantum spin of electrons, yeah, maybe it's that, and how this relates to magnetic fields. Yeah, probably that's the right hand rule thing. But anyway, for their demonstration, the researchers leaned on the properties of magnetic tunnel junctions, a component consisting of a very thin layer of insulating material sandwiched between two magnetic layers. MTJs are most commonly used in hard disk drives and have been utilized in other types of computing memory. Yeah, so the memory is stored in the magnetic field, as probably the memory is stored in Earth's magnetic field or sphere. RF signals can exert a shift on MTJs in which the current of the signal affects the spin of the electrons within the construct. Yeah, the matrix. This can be harnessed to produce electricity. The team created a series of nanoscale spin rectifiers formed from MTJs with full dimensions of 40 to 100 nanometers squared and 80 to 200 nanometers squared, sensitive to the frequencies of common ambient electromagnetic signals such as Wi-Fi 2.4 GHz frequencies, 4G 2.3 to 2.6 GHz, and 5G 3.5 GHz. Having demonstrated the effectiveness of their component on its own, the researchers created an SR array that could power a commercially available temperature sensor using only minus 27 decibel milliwatts of ambient radio frequencies. In future, the team hopes this method could be used to lower the carbon cost of running wireless networks by reducing battery dependency and energy consumption in sensors and other small devices. Yeah, there are many things in this last already, the carbon cost. I hope you are aware of that every word I say kills this planet according to modern science, because a human, when it breathes in and breathes out, he breathes out about 400 times more CO2 than he breathes in. And according to the logic of modern science, this is killing the planet. But if you are aware also of the fact that plants basically need three things in order to survive, yeah, there are a bunch more, but a plant or the plants need light, and they need water, and they also need CO2. So, how funny nature works. I think most of the mammals work basically as a human or in the same. We are mammals, we are not plants. So, we are breathing out CO2, which is the food for the plants, which is our food. It's a closed circuit, it's a self feeding loop. We need to breathe in order to feed the plants. We need the CO2 in order to feed our food. So, now we have energy harvesting from human made sources. I don't know how long it takes until they figure out that they could make a same machine that harnesses the energy of a human body. So you don't need to charge your phone anymore because it gets charged by the energy you are emitting, the electric field. But that's another story. We could go on with this forever. But I just now finally remembered another thing. I want to talk quickly about the sun because it has to do with magnetics and electrics and electromagnetics and connections and energy. So let's go quickly to a completely different site. Yeah, that's Space Weather News. Greetings, Ben. Anyway, I wanted to show you something. I have been thinking about this for quite a while. Can we zoom in on this? Yeah, check it out. Anyway, there seems something going on. Some eruption on the far side of the sun. Or on the eastern side. So, Earth is here, the yellow dot. We are all here. Everyone. Everyone. We are one. So, there has been this talk about the Earth facing quiet, about the sun not erupting much, or like that's the Earth facing quiet. Like when the sunspots are turning over and they don't do much thing or anything, they're not erupting, they're just there and doing anything. And as we can see, we have an eruption going on here. And actually, that's a perfect example of what I was trying to explain. Now I just realized that's amazing. Because about the Earth facing quiet, there's also the other thing that many of the sunspots that don't do anything as they are facing Earth, they erupt when they are turning out of the field of view seen from Earth. In other words, they are erupting most often on this side. So I have been thinking about these dotted lines you can see here. Those black dashed lines, I think it's dashed. You call it in English dashed. Lucy? No? Do they tell anywhere? These are the interplanetic here. The IMF, Interplanetary Magnetic Field Line. These are the lines that are connecting the planets with the sun, and I think it's on the equatorial base line. Here you can see it. That's a side view. We also have the Birkeland currents that go through the sun that are not depicted on this. So we go with these, the equatorial connection of the planets. Yeah, if there's anyone watching knowing better than me, if I talk crap, tell me. I don't want to use my time with talking crap. So, I have been thinking for a while about the Earth facing quiet and about the IMF because I noticed the repetitive pattern of the sunspots erupting as they reach the eastern limb here. I think it's eastern and western, they are the opposite. So they are erupting here on that side, and I've been thinking it might be because Earth or maybe other planets are establishing a connection to the sun that triggers the eruption. That's why many of the sunspots they erupt after they turned basically out of the field of view, but at the same time they are establishing the connection to Earth or other planets. And as it happens, we can see exactly of what I mean with this very eruption that happens at the exact spot, basically, as we have the interplanetary magnetic field line of, what's the green one? Venus. Venus makes an interplanetary magnetic field line connection to the sun, and the sun erupts at the exact same spot. So in other words, if we have some sunspots here and they make their journey over here, let me show it like that. If we now would have a sunspot here and it makes its journey up here, and the interplanetary magnetic field line of Earth will hit the spot, the sunspot, it might erupt because we make a connection there and the energy might come back to Earth. Maybe not directly, but the connection alone might trigger the eruption of the sun. And that's a perfect example of what we are looking at, of what I try to explain. And I am baffled in a way that there's such a perfect example of what I try to explain. Wow! I didn't make this. I didn't even know about how to, or let's say, I thought about making a video about the IMF field lines, about my theory, about why the Earth facing quiet is like that. And I didn't make it because I forgot it all the time. And I thought it's just a small thing. Maybe no one really cares about, but I thought it's very interesting. And now I finally remembered, and I just put some space weather news page, and it happens to be this one. And also, as we can see, Venus makes a connection to the sun, and the sun erupts at the exact same spot. And we might have to expect that there's something going on soon with Earth as well. If there are suitable sunspots in the vicinity, we might see some eruption very soon because Earth makes a connection to the sun that triggers the eruption. Maybe that's the simple truth about the Earth facing quiet. There is no eruption as we see the sun because there's no connection to the sun. Yeah, and of course, it's not always like that. Exceptions have to be expected. For example, if there are more planets out there and they make a connection somewhere that is triggering an eruption from the sun, which would then be Earth facing. Maybe some Jupiter or something. It might have very strong connections to the sun. But we only have Earth, Mars, Mercury, and Venus. So I think this model lacks the gas giants. If we would have a model with all the gas giants here, and we could see the interplanetary magnetic field lines of the bigger giants, or of the gas giants, probably many of those eruption mysteries could be solved just by looking at the interplanetary magnetic field lines of the gas giants. But this is just what I think. Hopefully you got something out of this video. That's probably the first time I say this. Yeah, I really hope. Maybe just one little thing would be enough in order to, or in order for me to get a feeling of this was worth it to make this video. But anyway, I think I'll leave it here. And yeah, let's see how this all is going to develop, because there are very big powers at play at the moment. Big things going on. Thanks. Bye.